They said never open the attic door. The nails were rusted through, the wood warped, but something kept pounding. And when Clara pulled the last nail free, she didn't just let something out. She let it in. This is the story of a cursed house, a forgotten name, and a reflection that wouldn't go away. And it all began when the attic door was nailed shut. Until tonight, Clara hadn't planned to inherit a house. Her great-aunt Marianne passed suddenly, leaving her the crumbling farmhouse in a town so small it didn't even show up on most maps. As Clara approached the property at dusk, the outline of the house seemed to ripple through the fog, its silhouette crooked like a spine badly healed. Inside, the air tasted stale, thick with dust and age. Every floorboard protested beneath Clara's feet. Portraits of unsmiling ancestors lined the hallway, but it was the locked attic door at the end of the upper corridor that seemed to draw her attention. Wide wooden slats, rusted nails driven deep. Something about it felt wrong. Clara ran her fingers across the door, feeling a faint warmth, impossible in this cold. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. The house shifted and creaked like something breathing beneath it. At 3:17 a.m., she awoke to faint tapping sounds, soft, rhythmic, like fingernails against wood. They were coming from above. Her eyes traced the ceiling, then back to the attic door. It had been nailed shut for decades. Wasn't that what the will had said? Why, then, did it sound like someone was behind it? The next morning, Clara explored the study. Amid moldy books and scattered papers, she discovered an old leather-bound journal, Marianne's. The entries began normal but grew strange, filled with references to the thing upstairs and the door that must remain sealed. One passage chilled Clara. The nails are weakening. It speaks to me in dreams now. I can't hold it much longer. That evening, Clara stood again at the attic door, journal in hand. Something behind it exuded pressure, like it was breathing down her neck. She turned away, clang. A sharp sound made her spin back. One of the long, rusted nails had fallen to the floor. It hadn't been loose before. The door now had a crack wide enough to peer through. Darkness stared back. That night, the scratching grew louder, echoing through the walls. Clara tried to record it on her phone. What she captured was worse. On playback, she heard whispers layered over the noise. Indistinct, chanting voices calling her name in a language she didn't understand. She dropped the phone in horror as a second nail clattered to the floor upstairs. The second nail was just the beginning. Clara couldn't stop thinking about the whispers, how they knew her name. The journal hinted at a room between floors, a place built into the bones of the house. She found it behind a rotting wardrobe in the guest room, a crawl space that didn't show up on the floor plan. Inside was a tiny, windowless chamber with walls covered in black handprints. That night, Clara dreamed of the attic again. Only this time, she wasn't just outside the door. She was inside. A heavy presence stood behind her in the pitch black, breathing down her neck. A voice rasped her name, clear and deliberate. She awoke screaming. Her pillow soaked with sweat, and a third nail from the attic lay on her floor. Desperate for answers, Clara visited the only store in town. When she mentioned her address, the owner, a gaunt old man, went pale. "You're in the house with the sealed one," he muttered. "They tried to burn it down once. Didn't work. Whatever's up there, it's older than this place." He wouldn't say more, just handed her a box of rock salt and told her not to sleep tonight. Clara scattered the salt along the hallway and door frames as instructed. The air felt colder now, denser. Around midnight, she heard again, but this time it wasn't scratching. It was movement, a slow, deliberate shuffling above her, like something stretching after a long sleep. Then creaking wood, like someone standing up in the attic. Back in Marianne's journal, tucked between the last pages, Clara found a yellowed Polaroid. It showed the attic, years ago, fully open, with a group of people standing inside, all facing the camera, except for one childlike figure in the back. Its face was blurred, arms too long and fingers bent backwards. Marianne had scrawled on the bottom, "We locked it in, but it wasn't alone." At 3 a.m., Clara was jolted awake by a thunderous bang. She ran into the hallway. The attic door was open wider now. an 8-inch gap. A foul, wet odor wafted through it. From within the darkness, 2 faint, reflective eyes stared back at her, and then, slowly, something smiled. After seeing the eyes, Clara couldn't bring herself to go near the attic again. Instead, she sealed the hallway with more salt and locked herself in the study. But while flipping through an old family photo album, something fell from between the pages. A small tooth, then another, then a third. Her gaze turned slowly toward the wall. Something inside it was chewing. Clara's search for answers led her to a section of the house she'd avoided, the sealed west wing. Marianne's journal had referenced the room where the crying never stopped. Clara pried the warped door open to find the nursery layered in dust, untouched for decades. A mobile still hung above the crib, spinning slowly, though there was no wind. A lullaby music box played from somewhere unseen. Inside the nursery, Clara found a locked toy chest. She forced it open and found old toys and a single carved bone, human by the size of it. On it, etched with precision, was a name she didn't recognize. Elsewith. When she whispered the name aloud, the wind outside screamed. A gust burst through the window, shattering it. Something had heard her. The next evening, Clara avoided the attic, but noticed the mirrors in the house were wrong. Her reflection lagged a moment behind her movements. In the hallway mirror, her reflection didn't blink when she did. Then, as she stared, her reflection slowly raised its hand, pointed to the attic door, and mouthed a word she didn't want to read. Open. That night, no nails dropped, no scratching, just silence, until 2:59 a.m., when the hallway lights flickered and the air turned sour. Slowly, the attic door creaked wide open. Clara stood frozen at her bedroom threshold. Then a soft sound, wet and sticky, echoed down the stairs. Something had finally stepped out of the attic. Not crawling, not dragging, walking. Clara fled downstairs, heart pounding, only to hear a heavy click behind her. The basement door, long rusted shut, now stood slightly ajar. A putrid cold wind drifted up from below, carrying the scent of rotting earth and something worse, blood and sulfur. Behind her, something thumped against the hallway walls. Ahead of her, the basement yawned like a grave. Either way, she had to descend. Clara stepped into the basement, each creaking stair defiance of every instinct screaming for her to run. The air was thick with rot and damp, the walls pulsing slightly as if breathing. At the bottom, she found a door she had never seen before. Stone, old, carved with the same name from the nursery bone. Elsewith, the moment her hand touched the handle, a faint whisper echoed. You should not be here. The door led to a subterranean chamber, far older than the house above. The floor was covered in a strange symbol burned into the stone, and at the center, a circle of teeth, human, childlike, and ancient. Hung on the walls were paintings, crude, frantic depictions of the attic. In one, a woman nailed the door shut while something inside screamed through the wood. In a corner of the chamber was a skeleton, curled into the fetal position. Next to it lay a mold-covered journal, newer than the others. It was Marianne's final entry. I failed. It wasn't just in the attic. It was under us. The nails weren't for the door. They were for the floor. It feeds on guilt. It wears our faces. It's not a ghost. It's what we buried. Clara fled upstairs, but her reflection was waiting. Every mirror in the house now showed a different version of her. One crying blood, another screaming silently, another smiling with rows of blackened teeth. Then one mirror version leaned forward and whispered in perfect sync. You opened the door. Now we all can. The house shifted again. With groaned, walls flexed. Clara felt drawn to the living room, where a hole had opened in the wall. Not a structural gap, a living one. It pulsed, lined with pale flesh, rows of jagged teeth writhing inside. It whispered like the wind, but spoke her thoughts. She lied to you. You're the last. Come inside. She didn't know why she climbed the stairs again, only that she had to. The attic door now hung completely open. No nails, no hinges, just darkness. But it wasn't empty anymore. Inside stood a mirror, just like the ones in the hallway, and in it, Clara saw herself, but not quite. It smiled, and then, with slow, deliberate motion, it stepped out of the mirror. The creature that stepped from the mirror was Clara, down to the scar on her temple, but her smile never touched her eyes, and when she spoke, her voice echoed like it came from inside a well. "I've worn many faces. Yours fits best." Clara stepped back. Her double followed barefoot, leaving behind wet footprints that steamed on the attic floor. The attic trembled. From the shadows, a shape emerged, a cradle. But this one was different from the nursery below. Inside lay not a baby, but a bundle of bones, wrapped in cloth stitched with human hair. The false Clara approached it reverently and began to hum that same lullaby. The bones shifted. Clara grabbed a shard of broken glass from the floor. Her reflection didn't copy the motion this time. She lunged forward, slashing the mirror with it, and fire burst forth. The attic began to burn from within the reflection outward. Her double screamed in fury, its face melting into something ancient and faceless. As the fire consumed the attic, nails began raining from the ceiling again, but now they drove upward, sealing something in. The attic door slammed shut. Clara, crawling toward it, saw hands, dozens, pressing from inside the door, but none looked human. She nailed the last one shut herself. Morning broke with pale gold light. The fire hadn't spread. The house was still. The mirrors now reflected true. No more teeth in the walls. No whispers. Just silence. Clara sat in the hallway, exhausted, staring at the attic door, now sealed not with iron, but with something deeper, her will. Days later, Clara found one last family photo hidden in the nursery, but the faces had changed. She saw herself there, standing beside the woman from the original photos, Mary Ann. Behind them, in the attic window, was something watching. It wore Clara a smile. Some doors are closed not to keep things in, but to keep them from finding new faces to wear. Clara thought she sealed the evil back in the attic, but reflections have long memories. And now, when she passes a mirror, she never blinks. Because in this house, your worst fear isn't losing your mind. It's watching your face walk away and realizing it was never yours to begin with. The attic door is shut again. But if you ever hear a lullaby humming through the floorboards, don't follow it. Nail it shut and run.